Hello Capricorn, and welcome to your March 2023 reading for the new moon. This is a collective reading for Capricorns that are sun or rising. I almost said Cancer. So Capricorn, sun or rising, I'm feeling this card. So thank you guys for the feedback. I'm just really loving the feedback that you guys have given me. These are collective readings, so sometimes I guess people have a hard time, myself included, when I've looked at general readings, like where does this apply? It applies like to a few different areas, and so this helps to give us a focal point for like what area of your life is being focused on, like where to draw your attention and your focus for this particular reading. So and it is a collective reading still, but this I hope helps, and apparently it's been helpful for some people. So here we have the retrograde, right? Retrogrades, every time that we have a retrograde, most people are familiar with Mercury retrograde, but other planets retrograde. So not every year for all of them, but we do have retrogrades that happen. And this is a period of review. It's a period of slowing down. You know, I mean, Mercury retrograde is one of the ones that we're most familiar with. And here's the thing. It's like if our mind, Mercury, were just going all the time and never had pause or time to slow down and to observe, to go over the things that we are just moving forward with, we would just tumble over ourselves, right? And our plans, and not ever have time to slow down and revisit and revise and review. And that is the energy of the retrograde. Whatever planet it is, the retrograde is about reviewing, revising, revisioning, and taking time to see, like, is what this energy is in alignment with me. And that's what we have showing up in this particular phase, in this new to full moon phase. And we don't just have the new moon to full moon happening in this particular period of time. Now, I know that this is not an astrology video. However, I'm just gonna touch on, because I feel it's important to give you guys the heads up. It's important to touch on some notable points in the first week of this new to full moon phase, right? Some really big things are happening, and there's a whole lot happening in the background. We're not going to get into that, but I recorded these videos early enough to have this come out on the spring equinox, spring equinox on March 20th, Monday, March 20th, and it's at 2:24 exact on the West Coast in Pacific time. So adjust that to wherever you're at. Really, we could just say the entire day is really just the spring equinox. So it's this new energy. This is the new astrological new year, right? Like instead of it being the Gregorian calendar, January 1st in the middle of winter, it's like, you know, whatever makes sense to you is great. But for some of us, it makes more sense that we come out of the winter and the spring is the new year. It's when new life is birthed. And so it makes more sense, right? So for some of us, I don't want to dictate that for you. So we have that happening, right? And these readings will be out on the equinox. And then the next day, on Tuesday, March 21st at 10:23 a.m. on Pacific time, we have the new moon moving into, we have the new moon in Aries, right? In tropical astrology. I noticed that most people that watch these videos tend to be tropical focused, and I don't know how to integrate sidereal quite yet. So I'm just talking about tropical for the time being. So it's a new moon in Aries, and this is a cardinal energy, meaning like it's combustible and it has a ton of energy, and it's like moving forth and like birthing things very similar to spring, right? So we have this, the energy of the new moon compounded by this energy of like this burst of energy that comes from Aries as well. And then 2 days later, we have a celestial body, an outer planet, well, an outer body, not a planet, but an outer body, Pluto, ingressing into Aquarius, and it has been in Capricorn for a long time. We're talking since I think 2008, I believe. So typically Pluto has a like approximately 20-year transit through any of the constellations, any of the signs, right? And so when it moves into a new sign, we see that it is something that is palpable, not just in our personal lives, but on a whole, like in the collective. And so it's like you can picture it being like an overlay, like a blanket that overlays everything. It's a new theme that takes place. And so, of course, these themes that affect everyone on this collective level and how those changes occur are on these big levels of course are going to affect us on a personal level, and in other ways if you like in your personal chart, but we won't get into that. So it's a big deal. It will be here for about 5 to 6 months, and then it will retrograde back into Capricorn. So we're getting basically like a taster choice, right, of like what can we expect to happen? What themes are going to be occurring over the next 20 years, right? Because after it finishes its retrograde and it moves back into Aquarius in 2024, that is like where it's going to be for approximately 20 years. That is a long period. That's an era, right? Like that's a generation or two. That's 2 generations of people coming into this planet and what they're bringing in. This is a big deal. And so I just want to preface this reading by saying like, hey, let's like notice like this is a longer reading than my normal new moon readings. Usually they're about like a 5 minute to 8 minute long. These are longer because I feel like it's important to mention this. So what your vibe is for this particular really full experience is the retrograde energy, which is reviewing, revising, revisioning, and making sure that shit is in alignment. Like the steps that you take, like, do you really want them? Right? Like take some time to examine between this week and the next week leading into the full moon, like what is it that you want to create, right? Because the energy building into the full moon is this like creation energy. It's this snowballing. It's this materializing energy. So like, what do you want to do? How do you want to create this, right? And so with that, we're going to take a look at like, you know, a lot of people during this period of time from the new to full moon talk about seeding energy, right? You've probably heard that term before. Talk about seeding energy, or they talk about manifesting, right? We could talk about this in a way that is a little bit more pragmatic, and we could say, you know, how can you like to ground it in more, especially for a Capricorn, right? To ground it in more, what's actionable, what's grounded is how can you utilize your time, your energy, your attention into this particular theme for this period of time, right? And then let's also take a look at, I'm feeling this top card for your spiritual advice. Okay. So interesting Capricorn. So interestingly enough, what we have going on here, I just realized I don't think yes, I did put it into just do not disturb. Sorry. So when we look at how you can utilize your time, your energy, and your attention from this new moon to full moon with all of these, like, again, I'm only talking about these points in what's happening with the celestial bodies that are like prominent points. There are a ton of other things that are important that we're not going to go into here, but those are the most prominent ones. So how can you utilize this energy? Where can you put your time, energy, and attention? Look at the Knight of Wands. The Knight of Wands, I mean, okay, look, the Knight of Wands admittedly gets a bad rap, right? It gets like a bad rap because it can be fuckboy energy, honestly. But it doesn't have to be. When it's in this point of like, what should you be doing with your energy? This is more constructive. In this particular position, when we're looking at how can you utilize your time, energy, and attention, this is about touching into like, okay, let's remember what puts us into action. What is our drive, right? Like what feels like you know, when we think about libidinous energy, when we think about our desires and what we want in life and how we go after it, the Knight of Wands teaches us to take action. Yes, in its shadow form, it's like act first, think later, right? And it's like, that's not always great. But in this particular position, this is just like, hey, seize the moment, seize the opportunity. You see something that has like a passion, a sense of creativity, something that lights you up, something that feels exciting, to create, great, move in that direction. And however, make sure that you're revisioning, revising, doing it in a more methodical way. So when we put these two cards together, what we can say is that these two cards together are essentially showing like, hey, you want to move towards the things that feel that you feel lit up by, that feel exciting, that feel passionate, that feel curious, that feel fiery, you know, in some way. That's beautiful. That's amazing. Yeah, move in that direction, but also take the time, and also, right, take the time to think about and to see, like, is this really aligned with me? Is this like, I feel this passion, I feel this energy, I want to create things, and like, how can, like, not only is it aligned with me, but the retrogrades are also about like, how can I revise this? How can I do this differently, either at all or this time, right? Like, how can I, like, if you're doing a project for another time, like, it's like, oh, this is the third time I'm approaching this project, right? Like, how can I do it differently this time to make it successful, right? So it's like revisioning, revising, reviewing how you can make this passion successful. Like, how can you utilize this energy in a way that is successful and beautiful, right? And so with that, we have the spiritual advice that is the Ace of Cups. And this is a beautiful energy. It's like, what it reminds me of all the time is like, I don't know how many of you have, like, maybe this is like an old school thing, but like, at least in LA, growing up in LA, there were certain places where, you know, maybe the apartment had not been occupied for like 2 or 3 weeks. And they're just like, hey, before you take a shower or wash dishes, like, run the pipes until they run clear, right? Because the pipes are just dirty AF, right? Like New York, San Francisco, LA, right? You think about the big cities and you're just like, oh gosh. Yeah, so like, this is like the energy of the Ace of Cups is like when the water is finally running clear and it feels like hopeful. So have hope, have faith, allow yourself to swim in the waters of faith and hope and renewal and newness and new opportunity and new possibility. Like, allow yourself to be reborn, allow others to be reborn, allow your projects to be reborn, allow for this clean, clear, beautiful, integrous, faith-filled kind of energy to just run clean, like if you were standing under a waterfall of pure energy, pure water, and just being like having everything washed away and starting new, right? It's such a gift. And that's what you have available to you. Like, this is such a gift. All of this, like, it ties into everything perfectly and beautifully. Like, you have this like chance to revisit something, to revise it, to review it, to do it differently, to move through with your passion and your creativity, and to do it from a clean and clear slate, from a clean place with full possibility and newness involved. And it's so beautiful and amazing. Like, I'm just feeling this energy and it's so great. So, oh my God, Capricorn, like, this is such a great, it's so fantastic. And I would just say, you know, if you want to get like the whole picture, look at your March reading for the month of March and like see like what the themes were and coming up for the month of March, and then, you know, with this reading. And just know that in a few days in April, I'm gonna, like, or for April, I'm gonna have the April readings up in just a few days here. So hit the subscribe notification bell so that you know when the new ones are coming out. And of course, if you want to have something specific to you and about your specific situations, then check out the description box down below. So I wish you a lot of ease and clarity in this time, and I thank you for being here, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.